Hello, grade 3. This is Mr. Jeremy here to explain your homework for today, April 17th. Please finish this by Monday, April 20th, and then on Tuesday, we will go over some of these sentences. So today you will continue to show me how to write yes or no questions and yes or no answers about actions that happen at different times. You will also learn when to use the who words we and you in these questions and answers. So again, here's your list of the who words that go with has or have. And here are those who words with has or have and verb 3 if you are asking or talking about a time from the past until now, different times from the past until now. Here are your list of verbs, those words in red. You have verb 1, 2, and 3. Make sure you are looking at these lists when you write your questions and answers. Another list and one more. So like I said, today we are thinking about when to use the who words we and you in questions and answers. So here we have the who word we. So we, for example, is the name that Mr. Jeremy and Mr. Tyrone call Mr. Jeremy and Mr. Tyrone. So when Mr. Tyrone and I are together and we are talking about Mr. Jeremy and Mr. Tyrone, we say we. Okay? When Mr. Jeremy is not with Mr. Tyrone, Mr. Jeremy calls Mr. Jeremy I, and so does Mr. Tyrone. When he's alone, he calls Mr. Tyrone I. Okay, but when you put I and I together and they're part of the same group, we call that we. Okay, so for example, Lynn, this girl, calls Lynn I. Greg, a boy, calls Greg I. Okay, when Lynn and Greg are together, Lynn and Greg call Lynn and Greg we. It's I and I together. So if you look inside the yellow square, that means they're part of the same group. Okay, and they're talking to a different person. Over here, he's outside the yellow square. He's not part of their group in this conversation. Okay, and remember by you is Mr. Jeremy calls one or more people I talk or write to. So that's you. So when I look at a person and I'm with them and they're not part of my group, I call them you. Or it could be more than one person that I'm talking to that's not part of my group at that time. So when we use the word we in a question, so we, two or more people call two or more people we, who, when the who word is we in the question, and we are talking to somebody else who's not part of the group, outside the group, the who word in the answer is you. Okay? So look at this slide if you don't remember when you do your work. So here we are again, this time when the who word in the question is you. For example, do you eat food? the who word in the answer is we. Yes, we eat food. Okay, so this is assuming a person is talking to more than one person. So here you have Lynn and Greg. He is talking to Lynn and Greg. And Lynn and Greg call Lynn and Greg we. So here's a different situation. So Lynn and Greg, remember, are in the same group. So Lynn and Greg call Lynn and Greg we. So if we is the who word in the question, and Lynn and Greg are talking about Lynn and Greg, then the answer, the who word in the answer is also we. So notice they're not talking to a person outside their group. They're in the same group. So for example, do we eat food? Yes, we eat food is the answer. Or if it's a no answer, it would be no, we don't eat food, okay? So here is your homework. Look at number 1, look at the timeline, look at the action, look at the yes or no symbol. Do you see a green tick mark or a red X? And also look at this picture here. So this picture shows Lynn and Greg together in the same group talking to a person outside the group. So write a question about the pictures. So remember, you is the who word that you use in the question, and then you'll answer that. You'll look at the situation in the picture, and then you'll answer the question in 2 different ways. So number 2, look at this timeline. So you have to think about what word do you write to start your question. Look at the who word, we, the action, hit the ball, and then look at the picture of the 2 people inside the group. So again, they're not talking to somebody outside the group. So how do you answer a question in that situation? Here's number 4. So notice the who word is I this time, so that's the who word for the question. And here is another action. Look at the timeline. Look at the who word. So remember I said you can be one or more people that I, Mr. Jeremy, am talking to. Number 5 is a little bit different. So notice the picture is this time we have one person talking to another person. We don't have a group talking to another person. A group is more than one person. So this time it's just one person talking to one person. So in this situation, which who words do you use in the question and in the answer? Here's another situation. We have more than one you for the who word. So here is another slide, same action, but this time the who word is I. So I see more than one I. So what who word means more than one I? So use that in your question and then answer it. Look at the situation here. And then finally, here's a different timeline. We have the who word, we, same action, but this time a different situation. Now the group is talking to the group, okay, not anybody outside. And then these are just slides that we will use in future lessons, so don't worry about them. Thank you, grade 3, for your work. Please send it by Monday, and I'll see you next week.